Hi guys, welcome back to Python based data science lecture series. In today's session, we are going to explore Python based Django framework. Django is Python based web framework that allows you to quickly create different web applications. Django framework is very popular for developing rapid development web applications. All the top MNCs like Instagram, YouTube, Bitbucket, Dropbox, and many more are using Django framework for web-based applications developments. Up till now, we discussed how we can develop the front end by Tkinter. We explore Python library for connecting database with front end and developing console applications. But virtualization is a need of an hour. We need an applications which is deployed on the global server and need to be accessible worldwide through www root. Django framework provides us toolkit to produce web applications, and because of richness of Python library, it become easy for developer to produce web applications which is following MVC architecture as well, models view control. So the latest web development applications are Django based and Python based. Let us explore this. Firstly, it is obvious we need to explore how we can install Django framework on your machines. I'll explain you the sequence again. First of all, go to the CMD command prompt. You can use Windows PowerShell as well. Here, firstly, the prerequisite for Django framework is you should have a Python version installed 3.0 and above. Let us check the Python version installed. py version. I'm having the latest Python version 3.9 installed in my machine. Now to install the softwares, I should have a pip version installed in my machine. To check whether that software is installed in your machine or not, you should check with the version. So pip version. Now as you know, pip is a popular software to install various softwares on your machine. So here pip 19.2.3 is installed in my machine. Now we need to firstly create the virtual environment. I'm having the latest Python installed in your machine, in my machine. If you want to know how to install Python, you should go with You Google out and install latest Python on your machine, which is compatible to your operating system, and then you can install PIP version as well. Now, as I said, we need to create the virtual environment. For that reason, what I'm going to do, I'll be switching to the D drive. I had created a folder by the name of Django demo. Switch to that. You can create your own folder for storing that all the Django based projects and the apps in it. So I switched to my folder in the D drive named as Django demo. Then the first thing what you need to create a virtual environment. A virtual environment means to publish a web project, there is a need of a virtual directory. As your application is going to browse onto the browser, publish onto the browser, so you need to initialize the virtual environment firstly. So for that reason, I need to use a command py-m vnev virtual environment and name the virtual environment. I am creating a virtual environment by the name of Axiom. So this command py-m venv Axiom will create a virtual environment for me. Now it's time to switch to that virtual environment. For that reason, you have to activate that virtual environment. For that reason, give the virtual environment name. You can name any. Axiom scripts activate.bat. Run this command so that now look at your command prompt. Now you are in the virtual environment. The script, the virtual environment by name of Axiom is activate now. Okay. After this, it's time to install your Django framework on your machine. For that reason, you need to first of all check it out whether the Django in my machine, I already installed Django framework. To check out whether Django framework is installed in your machine or not, you have to write Django admin version. It is saying Django framework's 3.0.8 version is already installed. If you execute the command Django admin version and it will say that Django admin is not available or not a recognized file, then what you have to do, you have to install a Django. How to install the Django? You have to execute the command py-m pip install Django. If after executing Django admin version or your first time installing a Django framework, what the sequence you have to follow? Activate your virtual environment and then you execute the command py-m pip install Django. If I write install right now, it is already available in my machine with a version of Django admin 3.0.8. After this, after installing Django framework and confirming that it is available in my machine, I have to create a project. Right? So for creating project, For creating project, you have to execute a command Django admin start project and the project name. You can give any project name to it, right? If you are creating a project for banking systems, you can go with a project called as bank and execute. If you are going for the project called for school admin, you can go with the school project or any name. So Django admin start project and define the project name. Once you define the project name, let us check it out firstly. Let's say PRJ1 is a demo project I am creating. Start admin start project PRJ1. So it will create a project 1 for me, right? Let us check it out. So what I will do, I'll go to my D drive, explore my folder by the name of Django demo. There I am having just recently created a project called as PRJ1 because you execute a command called as Django admin start project PRJ1. After that, it will create a project called as PRJ1, and you will find that there are 2 folders inside by the name of project name. I'll explain you each and everything, what is the requirement of init and is all the file settings and URLs. This manage.py file actually responsible for running the server, running the project on that server. So what we did, we constructed the project by that PRJ1. Now for the demonstration, I'm going to switch to my project which is already created, that is called as web test. So after creating the project, go to that project, switch to that project. So I constructed PRG1, but I'm not working on the PRG1. I'm going to demonstrate you the exist to my project, exist project. So I will switch to my exist project by the name of web test. Okay. In that project, you need to create an app. You need to create an app. For example, if you are in the project PRJ1, then construct an app in it. For constructing an app, you have to execute the command python manage.py start app and specify the name of the app. You can name the any, just like you can name project name, any project name. In the similar manner, you can define any app name. Need to understand one point. In the Django framework, app is going to execute. So you have to construct the web project, and inside that web project consists many apps. So if I am creating an app by my app, so my app will be added to this project 1. Okay, so you need to construct the project firstly in the Django framework and then construct an app in it. And after that, if you want to now start development, and if you want to explore this app onto the web browser, then you have to run it python manage.py run server. If you execute this command, then you'll get a URL http 127.0.0.1 and 8000. Means on the 8000 port of localhost, this is the localhost IP address. On the localhost on the 8000 port, it will start the server. If you want to cross check, you go to the browser, and open this URL http 127.0.0.1. it is means localhost and the port number. If you enter it, this elementary web page of Django framework will be appear. It means now your server is on. You can able to whatever the code you will write, you can able to publish it by using this URL. Localhost server is on now on the 8000 port. So it proves that successfully you able to install Django admin, Django framework and run the server. What is the sequence we need to follow? To install a Django framework, we should have a Python installed. So check the Python version firstly by py -- version. Then you check the pip version. Then you need to create the virtual environment. To create the virtual environment, we have to use a command called as py -m venv and then specify the virtual environment name. Then activate that virtual environment. By virtual environment name, script.activate.bat. I'm going to provide you this all the command list to create a server, that Django server, and publish the applications. After creating virtual environment and activating virtual environment, you have to install Django admin or Django framework, that is py -m pip install Django if it is not installed. If it is installed, check it out, Django admin version. If you not find the Django admin, install it. After that, you need to create the project by the name of Django admin start project name. After creating successfully project name, you go to that project, switch to that project. Just like I did, Django admin start project prj1, and then you have to, after creating the project, you have to, whenever you create the project, if you go to that folder, you will find the project folder name with the manage.py. This manage.py is actually responsible to run the server. Then you have to switch to the project. In that project, now that project have that manage.py which is going to run the server, but now to create the applications we need to create an app, and for that reason you have to write a command or create an app, python manage.py start app and any app name, right? There I had given the app name my app. While creating app, you need to switch to that project and then create the app, and then you just run the server. Once you run the server, you'll get the result like this. Means now Django framework is already installed in your machine and it is on, server is on, Django is installed and on to publish the web application. Hope you understand up till now, up to this. Now it's time to create a small web application and publish it over there, because right now it proves how we can create and publish and run the server. But now let us understand how to construct an web app. For that reason, obviously, if you are dealing with the web applications, you must be knowing about the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript. So let us test one web applications where we can construct a small web page and apply CSS to it. Now this server I'm activate for the PRJ1 project. To come out of the server, publish server, use Ctrl C. Now I'm switching to my web project, which I already defined by the name of web test, right? And then I will run the manage.py or start the server for this web test. In web test, I had created an app by the name of HTML CSS, as I want to demonstrate a basic HTML and CSS file running on the Django framework. So switch to the project web test and start the server. For starting the server, we have to execute a command. Here you can close this and execute a command. Python manage.py run server. Now I am in web test project, which I already designed and developed, and I am executing that server. I am running that server. Once the server started, again I will get the URL. So I'll copy this URL and go to the browser and test it. But now this time, instead of showing that default Django frameworks publish page, I'm having a customize my page with the CSS applied. Now we need to learn how we can construct this web page and apply CSS to it, or how to develop a static interface for Django framework. Let us explore this. For that reason, I'll be again switch to the command prompt, switch to Django demo, switch to project, and open in a VS Code, code start. Now here it is. Just like you create the project called as PRJ1, I created the project by the name of web test. I will explain one by one how to develop the applications in Django framework. So my project name is web test, and in that project I'm having an app called as HTML CSS. I demonstrate how to create the project and how to add app in it. So my web test is my project name and HTML CSS is my app. Now To develop an app, what you need to do, you need to create a folder firstly. Just understand, in the project, in the same directory, you have to create the folder by the name of templates, right? So you need to use over here and create the folder by the name of templates. Now the same name, it has to be there, templates, TEMPLATES. Deliberately I had given the capital letters to it to understand and to know that okay, it is my defined. To create any web application, you have to create a project, you have to create a folder, that is called as template, and that folder has to be the subfolder of your project, right? So you have a templates folder name you created. Inside that, you right click on it and add a new file by the name of index.html. Okay, and you create that HTML. Now HTML file means HTML head, title. I'll explain this, what the code I am writing over here. This is, just ignore this for a while. Okay, and just create a simple normal web page with the title my first HTML. Okay, you'll get the title my first HTML over here, and here I'm applying a head called as my first web page using Django in the body section. Now this code I applied for applying that style sheet. I'll be explaining you later on. So firstly, what you did, the first step, after going to the VS Code editor, you constructed a folder called as templates. Try and understand, you cannot change the name of templates. It has to be templates. All HTML files you are creating need to be in the templates folder. So you construct the folder templates and create a index.html in it. Okay, this is step number 1. Second, now you know, to construct the web pages, we need CSS files, we need JavaScript files, we need images, we need videos. Templates is a folder which consists all the HTML files only. So in the same project, you have to create a folder by the name of static. Right now, you create a folder by the name of static only, capital static. And inside that folder, you create the folders individually, CSS to manage CSS, cascaded style sheets, images, JS file, JavaScript files, video files and all. Right now, I created 3 folders to store my CSS, images and JS. Now in this demonstrative code, I am not using any images or the JavaScript file. So in the static folder, which is in my project, okay, not inside the app, it has to be in the project, the static folder by the name static, and there is the folder called as CSS, and inside that CSS I added a CS cascaded style sheet. I added a file style.css and write a code for the background color as aqua and the heading style is color as white and alignment is center. You create a style.css. You can name any that CSS file, but that all collection of CSS file has to be in the CSS folder, and that CSS folder has to be subfolder of a static. Clear? So Now we have a template folder consists index.html. Now we have a static folder. Inside that we have a CSS folder. Inside that we have a CSS file. Now these are the only two things required right now for today's demonstration, an index.html and the style sheet. Okay, hope you got up till this now. Now you need to explore to configure this HTML and CSS, because you just created the folders templates and store index.html and CSS inside static and store the CSS file. But to publish onto the web, you have to do some configurational settings. So the first things you need to do, go to in the web test, in the project you got the web test folder. In the web test you have a setting.py, settings.py. Go to that file, settings.py. In the settings.py you need to search out for the templates. This is predefined code. So in the setting.py you will get it in the project. Whenever you create the project, you will find another project name. It will create another folder by the project name, and there you find the setting.py. Now in the setting.py, by default it will remain blank over here, right? DIRs, directories, user defined directories to create the templates, that is blank. So I need to specify the directory name where my index.html is present. So I'm writing over here in the apostrophes templates. Now this is my directory name where my index.html is present. Don't do any changes now. Okay, just update this DIRs. Everything is in the pair of rectangle square boxes, square boxes, you write the templates. That's it. And after that, don't update anything right now. And here you will find by default static URL static. By default static URL static. You have to add this code in it. Static files. This code is not exist, not available there. So you have to write the code static files underscore dirs, means where your static files are. Now static files means you created the folder by the name of static, that directory you are specifying, and there in the static you have CSS, images, JS and videos files you need to store. Means it's a library for web pages. So here you have to add the code static files dirs equals to, in the pair of square brackets, os.path.join base dir, and then you have to specify the name of the directory which you created for storing this CSS, JS and images and video files. So this code you need to add it over here, right? So the two updates I did, I went to templates and add the directory for the templates. Below the static URL, okay, this is, you are not supposed to change the static, and then you have to add the code static files dirs equals to os.path.join base directory static, and save it. We are not supposed to use curly brackets and all, square brackets we have to use, and save it. Now your setting is over. Now setting gives idea to server that kindly refer templates, kindly refer static, and from where it has to refer. Then you have to go to the urls.py, right? Now in the urls.py, before referring to url.py, you need to create the view in the app. Now you know that I created the app by the name of HTML CSS, and I already demonstrated you how to create the. First of all, you have to create the project, and inside that project you have to create the app. In the project one, I create the app by the name of my app, but here in this case, in my web test project, I create the app by the name of HTML CSS. So go to that app. In the app, you need to update your views. As I said, Django framework supports to model MVC architecture, model control view. So here is the views. So in the views.py, the file which is already exists over there, you need to write the code. Define home as a view. Define home request means whenever the request comes to it, it will be return the render. It will to the calling area from where the request comes. Okay, it will return the render index.html. Right? Means whenever the request, actually app is going to run on the server. Whenever the request comes, then it will render the index.html. This is what it means. So you have to add the code in the views.py, define home in the bracket request, then return render request comma index.html. Now index.html is a file which you want to return, and this index.html file is actually we created and stored in the templates folder. Okay, after creating this view, then you get back to the urls.py, and then here you have to add the code, import the library from HTML CSS. HTML CSS is app name for HTML CSS. Import views from HTML CSS. Import views. You just created the views in the app, so we are referring to this. So need to switch to the URL, and then from HTML CSS import views. This URL pattern is already available over there. URL pattern equals to, but by default you will get the path of an admin console, and right now in our application there is no admin console, so I comment it. Whenever we will be creating the admin console, will be activating that path, but right now there is no admin console. I am having only blank path, means default path views.home, means kindly refer to this URL of views.home. In the urls.py, I am specifying the path of views.home, and views.home is actually from HTML CSS app import views, and then path blank views.home. And in the views.py, which is in the app, I define a view by the name of home. Define home request, return the render request index.html. This code I added in the views.py, and then in the urls.py I update the path for views.home, and views.home is actually I'm importing from the app HTML CSS. Hope you understand it. Save everything now. Now you have a templates folder which consists index.html. You have a static folder in the project which consists CSS by the name of style.css. We are not using any images, videos in it right now. Then you have to move to the settings.py. In the setting.py, you have to specify the directory name of templates, and the directory names static files directory equals to os.path.join base dir static. This code you have to update. After that, you need to create the views in the app, define home request, return render request.index.html, and then in the URL py you have to specify that view, and that view need to be imported by that from that app. After performing this all the stuff, okay, what is the sequence? First of all, you need to install Django framework, run the server. After that, you create the project, create the app. Then you create the folder by the static. Inside that, you create the folder by the name of CSS, images, videos, JS. I create the folder by the name of static and CSS folder. I store the CSS file by the name of style.css. And in the template folders, I create the HTML file by the name of index.html. Then I need to go to the settings. I specify the directory of the template and static, and then I need to create the views in the app. Then I need to refer that view in the URL pattern, and then if I run this on the server now, you Control C, break the server and rerun the server again. Server will run and provide you the local host, and if you copy this link and browse to the server now, you will get this result. Right? Now if you add any other things in it, let us go to the HTML. Just click now. In the templates we have a index.html, and here you add another heading. Welcome to Axiom Tech Guru Private Limited, and save it. And go to the browser and refresh it. You'll get the result like this. In the style sheet, I specify the background color, the color of web page, background of the web page, aqua, and heading style as a font color white, and the center line. So on the published web, that automatically means that first of all, initially you need to do all this sequence of installing Django, running the server, creating the project, creating the app, creating the static folders, creating the template folder, creating the index.html, CSS, settings, URL, views. After that, you have to just make an update in that HTML to generate the view accordingly. Hope this session will help you out how you can create a virtual environment, install Django framework, and construct a simple web application of a HTML and CSS. Hope you enjoy this session. Thank you.